All right, welcome back to another episode of Just Buy Less Coffee, answering the deeper questions of American politics. My name is Troy, aka Keep Troy Blue. With me, as always, is Kathy ECU Cannon from
What?
East Carolina. The Easy Girls at East Carolina. Just heard some
Stop
good
it.
stories.
Stop making fun of me.
AKA Cannon's fodder. Cannon and I met on TikTok. It's kind of our little like TikTok community, social media misfits, if you will. But it looks like this TikTok congressional TikTok ban has been kind of brewing ever since we got started there in 2020. But I don't know. It looks like it might actually be happening here, Cannon. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? So they're proposing basically a ban on TikTok unless TikTok divorces itself from its Chinese company ByteDance, because there is the like American like TikTok is an American company, but it's the product and the company are belong to this Chinese company ByteDance, who has its own version of TikTok in China. The TikTok leadership has sort of maintained that the American company can do whatever it wants. It's just a regular like business relationship. It's not controlled by the Chinese government or whatever. But I don't know. It looks like they might be leaning into this a little bit. This ban in the United States. I don't know, but they've been saying that for a while though. So I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. For those watching, you can see my shit-eating grin. For those at home, I have a shit-eating grin,
Why do you have
which
a shitty grin?
means I don't think this is happening. I think this
Okay.
is all a bunch of bullshit. I don't think this is happening for several reasons. And
Okay.
one is that I pay way too close news to, like, I'm teaching economics right now. So am I paying attention to all the business news? Yes, I am. And I'm going down a rabbit hole. I've put a link in the outline for you because even Politico's onto this and it's fucking Politico, right? So
Okay.
like,
We'll
just
put that.
now
We'll
I'm
put
like,
that. You want me to put that article in like the show notes for people?
yeah, you can. It's there
Okay.
if you want to. I linked it in the outline.
Yeah.
But one, the reason I think, like way back in the long ago, the first time this TikTok ban came up was because Donald Trump's feelings were hurt after the Tulsa rally. So I
Of
think
course.
that like it was 100% fueled by the petty grievance of Donald Trump. I think Republicans were willing to jump on board with it because they're like xenophobic assholes and they like being able to blame things on China. They
It's an
sell
easy
fear.
target. It's an
It's
easy
an
like
easy
scapegoat.
target, and especially considering they get a lot of their money from, domestic social media companies that were losing to TikTok at that time because TikTok got us all through the pandemic. If you remember, they were like, that's when they blew up. And like Facebook, everybody was seeing declines in their traffic because everybody was spending so much time on TikTok. We all know this. Like YouTube had to like change. They have their shorts now. Yeah. Instagram created reels. Like everybody was trying to keep up with TikTok.
TikTok annihilated its competitors in 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
It was
and
TikTok was huge.
Yeah, and it's balanced back out now because those competitors created like similar comparable products to keep their people on their sites longer by adding the feature that TikTok had. And TikTok has responded by like adding some features to their platform that so it's become a competitive market. We're supposed to like competitive markets as capitalists. I'm just saying is all. Just throwing it out there, Congress. But I think if it got through Congress, which I don't think it will for reasons I'll get to in a hot second. But if it did, I don't think Joe Biden is going to pass that law right now. I think he would veto it or pocket veto it at the very least, but I don't think he can pocket veto because I don't think they're whatever. But he is on TikTok now. If you know, Joe Biden is like making cookies on TikTok or some shit. I don't know. But he's also already losing ground with young voters and he needs to kind of win those back, which is what put him on TikTok. So right. I can't see him like thinking that banning one of their favorite apps is going to win back the favor of them. So
well, it's not even just like a favorite app. It's like how Gen Z and like the younger generations, Gen Alpha now, is like how they communicate with each other. It's like it became for that generation, for that pandemic generation of youth, like in like the upper years of high school and lower years of college when the pandemic hit. Like that was their only outreach to the world. That was their source of like creative self-expression. Like that's why that app got so popular. So yeah, it's important to the young kids. But yeah, I mean Biden's on it himself, but he's also he's courted TikTok influencers from the very beginning. They've have repeatedly had these like TikTok summits where he invites these TikTok influencers to the White House. I was never invited. I was always a little butthurt about that, but I'm over it.
Samesies, Biden. Like, seriously, I'm at least as smart as, arguably smarter than some of the people that have shown up there. I'm just saying, is all.
But yeah. I don't think. I think you're right. I don't think Biden and his people see the value of getting the message out on TikTok. And it's so political in nature. They target TikTok because it leans more to the left. And it's effective. It's effective at like spreading, Democratic Party messaging and left wing messaging, way much more effective than it is at like sort of right wing dissemination, like Twitter is.
Oh, but I have more, Troy. I have more on the TikTok. Oh, so much more. So I don't think it'll get through Congress. So this is my other thing, like on the aside there, because if you've noticed today, Donald Trump has backtracked on his anti-TikTok position. And he is now arguing that banning TikTok would be bad because it would give an advantage to Mark Zuckerberg, because now he hates Mark Zuckerberg because they have their thing. Now, this is one I've been sitting on for a long time, because I also think that first wave of the TikTok ban, and probably this iteration of the TikTok ban as well, is not driven by any national security concerns at all. It's driven by Amazon's lobbyists and Facebook Marketplace lobbyists.
100%. How much of this is just Zuckerberg like owning these members of Congress and trying to get rid of his competition? I mean,
right. And that's kind of what it is, especially with TikTok Shop. Those of us on TikTok know TikTok Shop has kind of taken over TikTok a little bit, which ironically could ruin the app, because it's a little bit annoying, like how much TikTok Shop shit you get all of a sudden. But that is what they are doing. So the very thing that probably got them the attention to get them fired was like the Bezoses and the Zuckerbergs going after them on the competitive, like, we don't want to have to compete with this company. But now, because of the TikTok Shop, they have domestic investors. Right. Specifically, the company called Yas Money, which I swear to God, that's what it's called, YASS Money, who met with Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is his investor, one of his big time investors that gives Donald Trump's campaign a whole bunch of money, has a 15% share in Yas Money. Oh no, he's invested in Yas Money, and Yas Money has a 15% share in ByteDance.
Oh my God. Okay. So they're like literally making money off of TikTok. So
which means, and Donald Trump is now kind of talking to all his friends in Congress. So now if there's an opportunity for Donald Trump to get invested with the TikTok, is TikTok going anywhere?
Right.
No. So he met with an investor who owns 15% of the parent company that owns TikTok. He, Elon, and all of the other billionaires are now all of a sudden like, oh no, TikTok's great because we own a percentage of it. So the really sad news there is that Donald Trump might end up owning some of TikTok. It's going to ruin
that
it.
Scares
he's also going to prison, so who cares?
That scares me way more than just like them shutting it down. Is if like Trump or Musk are both take it over and turn it into the nightmare hellscape that Twitter is.
Musk wouldn't be allowed to. So the thing that the interesting thing there is that Musk has met with these investors, which means he might be trying to pull some shady shit, because as the owner of Twitter, he would face antitrust violations if he got invested in another company like that.
Right.
Because so I don't think Musk can touch it.
Probably so would Zuckerberg, because aren't they looking at antitrust stuff at Zuckerberg too? But I could totally see that being their motivation, because the way they're going about it is they're like, TikTok needs to divorce its parent company. So they're basically inviting TikTok to basically like, sell itself to an American company. It's like, okay, so why don't you just become part of the Meta universe then? Why don't you just let Zuckerberg take over TikTok, and then you can
Well, that's what I think this Yas Money company is trying to do. They're trying to so what I think this is that they're going to try and word this bill in such a way, like you said, so that they can just give like managing decisions to a shareholder, like a group of shareholders, right? So have an American board of directors or an American stakeholders or whatever, and have them make the, domestically related business decisions. And oh golly gee, if that happens to be Vivek Ramaswamy,
please don't.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just saying. So do I think TikTok's going away? No. And for all of those creepy, nefarious reasons that I just gave.
Well, it's also unenforceable. Rini used to talk about this. Like, all you need is a fucking VPN. It's only being banned in the U.S. TikTok is a global product. You can use TikTok in other countries. There are ways to get around like a ban that's just in the United States. So it's not,
and not only that, it's like and it would have an immediate legislative stay anyway, because the company is going to immediately appeal, or sue on behalf of the law or whatever, and like it's not going to go anywhere because there's First Amendment issues about. So I'm not too worried about it, but I hope not, because I need that TikTok money because I have a car payment now.
They're so disingenuous about their
Mm,
reasoning. It's like because they're trying to say that like China is using the TikTok product to like mine for American data. Like the other social media apps don't do that. Like
right.
Zuckerberg was literally got caught. Like what was
Hmm.
the name of that company that was like he was selling
Cambridge
selling
Analytica.
yeah, Cambridge Analytica. Like literally, Zuckerberg has been caught doing that, but somehow
Yep.
we're not talking about like a ban on Facebook in the United States. It's all just because of lobbying.
Well, because we can't racially scare people if we ban
Well, and that's
face.
the other thing is like these dumbass Republicans see that the CEO of TikTok is Asian, and they automatically
Yeah.
assume he's some like Chinese Communist Party official. He's from
Yeah.
Singapore. He's not even fucking Chinese.
I
Like he's
know.
a
Like
Singaporean American. Like Jesus Christ.
that was
Yeah,
painful to watch. It's like like I wanted him to respond so quick. Like you are aware
yeah.
Singapore is not part of China,
He
correct?
kind of did. He was like he had to say like
I like
somebody did a video like the number of times he had to say I'm not Chinese. It was like 50
fucking
times.
ridiculous.
It was
Fucking
just like
Tom Cotton. That's who it was,
god
wasn't it?
damn.
Tom Cotton.
Good old fashioned family racism in the Republican Party.
Gross, gross, gross.
Oh, State of the Union. Woo, boy.
Yeah, buddy.
State of the Union. Last week was a crazy week.
Last week
We had
was
Super Tuesday. We had
crazy.
State of the Union address. A lot of late
Yeah.
nights for Troy in my job. Um,
Same seas. It was a good thing that we were on a testing schedule because I would have been useless.
it's a really good moments at the State of the Union address. Biden is so good at delivering these, and I think
Mhm.
Republicans know it, which is why they were trying to cancel this one. I guess the president doesn't have to give a speech State of the Union. The president is just required to update Congress. Some
Mhm.
presidents have just done that in a written letter.
Thomas
Um,
Jefferson used to write
Thomas,
letters, be
yeah,
like,
because
"Yo,
Thomas
bitch,
Jefferson
we good."
was such an ass clown. He couldn't deliver a speech to save his life, so he would just write it. He
True.
would just deliver it to Congress in a letter. So some Republicans were trying to say that we're trying to like tell Speaker Johnson to not allow Biden to give the State of the Union in person out of a protest over the border or whatever. It was all just bullshit because they know that Biden
Mhm.
gives a good goddamn State of the Union, and when networks can't cut away and Fox can't,
Mhm.
slice it up into little 3-second clips, you actually see that Joe Biden is a good
Mhm.
public speaker, knows how to deliver a speech.
Mhm.
The issue facing our nation isn't how old we are, it's how old are our ideas. Hate, anger, revenge, retribution are the oldest of ideas. But you can't lead America with ancient ideas that only take us back. You lead America, the land of possibilities. You need a vision for the future and what can and should be done. Tonight you've heard mine. I see a future where defending democracy, you don't diminish it. I see a future where we restore the right to choose and protect our freedoms, not take them away. I see
Good stuff. A
Mhm.
few of these clips, but just your initial thoughts on the speech. Kathy had Mike Johnson's horrible like stink face behind him the entire time.
Um, actually, so Friday was a senior skip day, so there were maybe 6 kids in school all day, so I put on the State of the Union for a few of them,
Okay.
and the only comments I got for, like, the first 10 minutes were about Mike Johnson's face.
Yeah.
Like,
It
"That
was
guy
so hard to
behind him
watch.
looks so bad." I know, and he's like they just they're like, "I can't even pay attention to Joe Biden because this guy just looks so, like, constipated," was one of the words I found interesting for how they described Mike Johnson, is that he looked constipated, and I was like, "Well, yes, with frustration." He was having a day. Poor Mike Johnson. I think it was
Yeah.
a good speech overall. There were a few things in there that, there's always a few things you disagree with or don't like or that could have been better, right? But for the most part, like, they did that thing where they set the bar really low for him, so he
Exactly.
hurdled over it by a mile, so that's fine. He did crowd well, actually, that was one of the things one of my kids said that was funny. They were like, "Who knew Biden did crowd work?" And I was like, "I like, who
Yeah.
knew? It's fine." So I think he did really well. He was personable. I think, like you said, like, it's a really divisive political climate, so I think it probably calmed down Democrats more than it won people to his side. So I think people that might have been nervous about, oh, he's so old or whatever, like, it was pretty clear that he's not the suffering from dementia
Right.
characterization that's been made of him. And that was another thing one of the kids said. They're like, I thought he was like older than that. And I was like, oh, he's plenty old, baby boy. He's plenty old.
Well, I'm telling you, when you actually watch the man give a speech,
Yeah.
you could tell he's fine. Like, it's just, we get shoved these like 3-second clips down our throat constantly. And it's affecting Americans' perception of him. He did win over one person, and that's Bill Maher. Bill Maher has officially said that he now supports Biden because of this speech. So, and then the New York Times or somebody read it. Somebody called it like, you know, this was Biden's comeback. It's like Biden's comeback tour or something like that. He's officially like in comeback kid status now. I don't know if they've done much polling since the speech, but I would imagine his numbers.
I was gonna look it up in a minute, but like I follow Hank Green on Twitter because I follow Hank Green everywhere because I secretly want to be friends with the Green brothers. So if you guys are listening, I'm funny and I have brothers. So I'm the perfect like adopted little sister. Just saying.
She wants Green brothers, yeah. Absolutely.
Because they're like, oh my God, seriously, I'm the perfect like middle for that group because Hank is like the sciencey philosophy guy and like John is the English history guy. And I'm right in the middle with like, I know all of the things.
I'm sure you want to be right in the middle of them. Yeah.
No, because like that is not the feelings I have for the Green brothers at all. It is more like, let's talk about European history. Like it'd be fun. I wanna be their nerd friend. But he posted on Twitter right after the State of the Union, or even like during probably, that I'm never less concerned, or I'm only concerned that Joe Biden can't do his job when I'm not watching him do it. Is like what he said. And he was like, oh, like once you can see, yeah, I'm good. I was worried for nothing. And I think a lot of that was conveyed. There was that one moment where where Marjorie Taylor Greene called out at him. I think you have it queued up here, where he like responded using the word illegals, which
I don't think I have that one queued up, but we could discuss it in a minute. But let's play a couple more.
Yeah.
We have two ways to go. Republicans can cut Social Security and give more tax breaks to the wealthy.
This is the live negotiation.
That's the proposal.
He did it to him again this year.
Oh, no. You guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut? I kind of thought that's what your plan was. Well, that's good to hear. You're not going to cut another $2 trillion for the super wealth. That's good to hear. I'll protect and strengthen Social Security and make the wealthy pay their fair share. Not fair.
So you really see that like he is not intimidated. Biden gives zero fucks about MAGA, about the Republican Party, about congressional crazy ass House Republicans. Mm-hmm. You always start to they dominate the conversation so much because they're just able to get on like Fox News. They're able to get on like nightly news shows way more than he is. You know, so they're able to control the narrative about him. But when you get them, they're literally in the same fucking room. They're feet from each other. You can see that Biden is not intimidated by these fucking people at all. In fact, he thinks they're a joke. And he was owning that room that night. He didn't even let Mike Johnson intro him. He just launched right into the fucking speech.
I noticed that actually, and I thought that was a little interesting jab too. They always portray him as some like puppy dog. But then the way you see members of Congress react to him when he talks to people, you could tell that like the man commands respect. Even with Marjorie Taylor Greene looked terrified in front of him. I know. Like she tried to be all like big and bad, like look at me, and he made a silly face at her, and you could tell like like as somebody who spends a lot of their time in high school, I can read the facial expressions of people pretty well. And she had the like embarrassed girl face instantly. Like when he did that little look that he did with her, you could tell like poor girl.
I think this is the Justices one. Where he goes after this.
And thanks to our bipartisan infrastructure law, 46,000 new projects have been announced all across your communities. And by the way, I noticed some of you strongly voted against it, or they're cheering on that money coming in. I like it. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Making him a bitch.
If any of you don't want that money in your district, just let me know.
That was a good line. But yeah, some good moments there. Some good moments in that speech.
It was good. And then
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, like the things that he pointed out into the speech, you can see he's coming out within his ads, right? Like he kicked off his campaign with that speech, and like the funny ad I sent you the other day, where he kind of like addresses the fact that he's old, like flips it to experience.
Which is good.
And then today, if you notice, he released like a proposal for his tax plan where he wants to raise taxes on the wealthy people,
Yeah.
which he pointed out to those like in that video. So he's really good at jumping at the moment, and that's what I don't think he gets enough credit for, but I'm hoping he will in the coming days and weeks.
That was like released today. I don't really want to talk about it until I've studied it more, because I don't really even know what he said. But I know, I was excited to see that, because he's finally come out with sort of his progressive economic policy, which we kind of haven't had. I mean, we've had a lot of infrastructure investments. We've had, like chips and science stuff. But we haven't really had his like big, progressive left-wing budget where he's going to tax the shit out of billionaires.
Right. And I haven't looked at it a whole lot, but I just kind of skimmed through it, and you can tell that he's releasing it because of those remarks. Like,
yeah, totally.
That was the plan. He included it in the speech for a reason, because he's gonna, and it's the credit he doesn't get. Like he's more methodical than he looks. You know what I mean? And
when he's eating ice cream and looking like a doof. The one part I did hear was that his plan would essentially would give big tax cuts to middle class, make them permanent tax cuts for the middle class, not the rich, like Trump's plan. And so he would shift permanent tax cuts from the rich to the middle class and offset them by basically with like a wealth tax, like just taxing a huge amount to billionaires. So I thought that was really interesting.
From what it looks like, there's a bunch of money in there for like new social programs or expanding existing ones too. So it's like great society level, and I need to look through it for sure.
Yeah. But he's our Teddy. He's our LBJ. He's way more progressive. He's going to end up being one of the more progressives, at least economically. He's going to end up being one of the more progressive presidents we've ever had. I want to find this justices one, and then we can talk about the illegal line.
Oh yeah, when he called out the judges, that was a solid moment.
The issue facing our nation isn't how old we are.
No, not that one. I don't really have these labeled on. I want to see the one where he claps back at the judges.
Respect, justices.
Yeah.
Women are not without, and with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you're right about that.
Brutal.
Clearly. Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024.
So good stuff. The board of Supreme Court justices, and Alito and Thomas weren't even there. They were the two that decided not to show up from the Supreme Court. And to be clear, the Supreme Court never applauds during the State of the Union for anything. But that was pretty brutal, where he just directly called them out to their face.
And like Mike Johnson's face behind them when he said that too, you can tell he's like, "Yeah, we're noticing," because they had they had put themselves in such a bubble on this issue. They had convinced themselves people were on their sides. They'd convinced themselves they were going to be the heroes for this. And it is not at all what they have gotten. And they have no idea what to do. And it's kind of fun to watch, honestly.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like that, though. I've never seen a president like go after another branch of government. You know what I mean? Other than Congress, obviously, but like go after SCOTUS like to their face. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, FDR did it, but like in his like fireside chats and like low key, like, I guess I'm gonna have to pack the courts if they don't rule the way I need them to on minimum wage. And
that's a good segue for today's deep dive. I think we're going to be talking about the best presidents. Last time we talked about the worst presidents. We're going to cover some of our favorite presidents today on the deep dive. So if you're not subscribed to Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/justbuylesscoffee. Subscribe, $5 a month. Get access to our exclusive deep dive series available for patrons only, along with some other behind the scenes content. Kathy's stories of her college stories and whatnot, shooting beer bongs, all that kind of stuff.
Shooting beer bongs? What did you do in college?
What Kathy do in college? So yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. It's the timing is right on that because the Supreme Court is so unpopular that Biden can get away with it. Just like people were wanting that. People were wanting to see the Supreme Court get told off right to their face.
Yeah, it was a delightful little moment. I can't lie.
Even though Alito and Thomas weren't there
that would have been so good.
I think they snaked out of it. I think they were so.
They suck.
So the illegal thing. So Marjorie Taylor Greene gave him a pin, and it said it had Laken Riley's name on it or face or something. The young woman that was killed by a migrant. And she made it kind of all about that, saying her name. Which, by the way, she got her name wrong later. In a speech, she said the wrong name, and you could actually hear. I think it was Adam Parkamenko posted a clip of her heckling Biden during the speech, and even in her heckles, she got the name wrong. Like as she's saying, say her name, she gets the name wrong. So she's an idiot. But Biden gets the name wrong and then says that she was killed by an illegal. That moment was interesting because clearly, like just responding to Greene off the cuff, Biden has enough, confidence in his speech that he can like go off script for a minute and just sort of slap down Republicans. So I loved that aspect of it, that he like picks up the pin and like reads the name and like says like, this is, you want me to say her name? I'll say her fucking name. Like, this is what I'm doing. I love that aspect of it. Obviously saying the word illegal is kind of a no-no. He should have said undocumented. I don't know. I think he just got caught up in the moment, and I don't.
Yeah, and that was the point I wanted to make in it, is that it's one of those moments where his age actually comes out, and
right.
where and why it's an issue. And I wanted to talk about it only because it's like Kathy's little "if I ran the DNC" kick that I'm on here lately.
That should be a segment.
Maybe, who knows, but it would be like, that would be a moment for him to talk about, because in the speech he's talking about, it's not how old you are, it's how old your ideas are. But that's an example of an old idea, and he has that idea because he's been around for a long time, and it resonates, and he can either fight back and be like, I made a mistake, let it go, or he can lean into it and be like, I'm an old man, I'm gonna make mistakes, just like the old people in your lives, because I'm learning the new worlds that we're living in, and as we learn, we grow. And he just like lean into it like that. So did I make a mistake? Yeah. And in that moment, I went back to like verbiage of the past.
Right.
But that doesn't
That's what
mean
we used to say in the Senate back in the day.
Right. But that doesn't mean I'm going to the policies of the past, right? You say that, like, I might slip up on the tongue, but I'm not going to slip up with the pen or some shit like that, right? Like, like you can turn it around and like own your flaws, because one thing I can say that, and any Gen Z listeners out there, feel free to tell me if I'm full of shit here, but one thing that I have got from them over the years is that they yearn for authenticity.
Totally.
Like they're okay with you being a shit as long as you're upfront about being a shit, because they all love me, Troy, and I'm a shit. But the difference is that I own it. Like, I will do something wrong.
Crap.
Right. And that's what I think Biden should do. Like, I'll screw up things. Like, we've all had a teacher in our past, right? That'll like teach something wrong and then just like double down and insist they weren't wrong. And then they'll like whatever. Right. But like, I make mistakes in my class all the time. And when I catch it, I do the never mind, I'm stupid, rewind, right? You guys are all smarter than me, because the kids will notice when I make the mistake, and I'll try to explain it. And I'll notice as I'm explaining it that I'm wrong. And they're like, you're wrong, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, I'm wrong. And then we figure it out.
Just got myself, I'm wrong.
So,
just ignore what I said, I'm wrong.
And I do. And I feel like if Biden does that, like when he makes those mistakes, instead of trying to like brush over them the way old politics did, where you try to like forgive them and make excuses and distract from them, like the politician that figures out that owning your shit is what will win moving forward is going to win these kids over. So if he just comes and he goes, you're right, I shouldn't have used that word. Here's why I used that word. But you guys have taught me that, and you're making me better. Just like and I want you to be here, because if you're here and you're participating and you're voting, you're going to make me better continuously. And I will leave a better country for you if you help me leave you a better country by telling me how to be better. And I feel like he just needs to own that moment. Like, I didn't say it out of any sense of grossness. I said it because I haven't fully learned how to be who you need me to be. But if you help me be who you need me to be, I'm willing to. Nobody else is. Donnie's not willing to be who you need him to be. I'm willing to be who you need me to be. He's trying to make you what he needs.
He kind of did that, not as artfully as you just did, but he did do a good job sort of being like, I fucked up, I shouldn't have said that, but like he was like, but the point still stands, like, and that, like, I think you're right. I think people do love authenticity, and that was an authentic moment. That's just where I loved that moment. A lot of people didn't. I loved that moment because I love that Biden was able to go off script and just be like, fuck you. It's also a thing that Democrats have not owned the border issue. We've been like scared to death to talk about it. And we need to start talking about it because it's actually a winning issue for us. It's actually a winning issue for Democrats if we talk about it correctly. So I love that he took the pen from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I love that he had it on stage with him. He read it back to her. He got the name wrong and he said the word illegal. But the whole moment I thought was great. And I would much rather have an old progressive man who says some not PC things because he's old but apologizes and has the right policy. I'd much rather have that guy than just some fucking monster like Trump, or even somebody that says all the right things but has terrible policies, like somebody like Mike Johnson.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Like, I kind of saw it as the same. Like, when he said it, I went, but like, knowing all that I know, I kind of dismissed it in the same way you did, right? But it was when I was watching it with the kids, that's all they heard. And that's like, and because they're young and they're stupid and they react to things. And I
they're
love
not wrong,
you,
though.
but,
I mean,
but they're not wrong, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that like where we are old enough to be able to see past the gaffe, if you will, and like see what he was saying, they're not politically there. And if you remember, once upon a time, we were there to George W. But he said strategery, right? We were all fucking done with everything else he said, right? And that's still where they are. And I think that you have to remember that a little bit when you're courting this type of voter. And that's why, like, I hadn't actually seen the clip where he came out and owned it. So I'm glad to hear that he had done that. But that's going to be.
He apologized. He apologized and said he should have said undocumented, not illegal.
Yep. And that's where he's going to win, is that when he makes those stupid mistakes, instead of trying to pretend he's not old and doesn't make mistakes, just lean into it with grace and humility. And that is actually something Joe Biden is grace and humility, kind of his wheelhouse. So I think he'll be all right.
Well, complete opposite of Trump. Trump would never have apologized
I know.
for anything.
He would deny saying it, despite the fact that it's recorded on like national television.
Biden is just that, that guy that's learning. He's that old white guy, but he wants to learn. He wants to change. It's like to be 81 years old and to be willing to change and learn from the youth and listen to TikTok influencers. I mean, frankly, it's remarkable. I mean, not too many presidents would be like that, to be honest with you.
Correct.
So then let's get into the Katie Britt response. Holy fucking God. That was just awful. These responses, these like State of the Union responses, are never good. I don't know why they're still doing them. I get the point of it, but it's always bad. Like even the good ones, even the quote unquote good ones are bad. You can't match the energy you can't immediately follow a high energy live speech in the House chamber with anything that's going to look remotely good. And these people are not good. Oh, there's a kitty on the screen. Hi, kitty.
She wanted to say hello.
She's cute.
She's smiling. She's a jerk.
But Katie Britt's was we've had some bad ones. We had Marco Rubio with the water. We had Bobby Jindal just being an idiot.
I forgot about Bobby Jindal. Yeah. Oh my God.
Everybody did, because his career is over.
Yeah. Kenneth the Page. That's what he was. Remember? It was was the comparison.
Kenneth the Page, yeah. Bobby Jindal. Oh my God. But Katie Britt kind of left them all behind. She's in kind of a whole new category here with just a terrible, terrible response. Like, did you watch it live? I actually didn't watch it live. I just saw clips of it after. I couldn't even get through the clips. I'm like, this is fucking unwatchable. This is terrible.
Yeah, I didn't watch it live because I had to be up 5:30 for work the next day. But I saw, like you said, clips of it the next day. Like, I tried to watch the whole thing, but woof, I got the idea.
Well, let me play a little bit of it. This clip's like a minute and a half. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I just want to see how far I can get.
Imagined what my story would entail.
Ugh, I'm already grossed out
about what the American dream can do across just one generation, in just one lifetime. It's truly breathtaking. But right now,
key change. We're sad now.
The American dream has turned into a nightmare for so many families. The true, unvarnished state of our union begins and ends with this. Our families are hurting. Our country can do better.
I can't do it.
Well, then.
So over dramatic, so fake, so canned, just terrible response.
I feel like our listeners should hear about what my delightful friend referred to this as.
Go ahead.
Because Troy and I were talking, and I was telling him my friend called it ASMR for Republicans. Because hitting all of those emotional, like, nitpicky notes. And I said it sounded like a Republican sex talk line.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, are those borders open?
That should be for 6 Patreon subscribers. We could do like Republican phone sex line.
Yeah, these oddly sexy voice that we recently learned.
Wide open borders.
You have wide open borders and big long guns.
Oh boy, that's hot. That was good. Subscribe to Patreon for more of that shit.
Go grab my rosary beads. No, wait, because I'm mad at the Pope. Fuck him.
Yeah, Kathy's a little rebel today. Catholic rebel, Catholic schoolgirl.
Always have been.
Pretty bad. Just okay. This is why, like, basic public speaking in college. Take a public speaking class. Take an acting class, kids. Like, this is so fake and unrelatable. It was just so bad. I loved some of the. They had her in a fucking kitchen, Kathy. They put her in They literally had the woman in the kitchen giving the response.
They had her in Handmaid's Tale green, Troy. Like, she's like Serena Waterford over there.
They went, we need to appeal to women. We're getting our asses kicked with women because of Roe v. Wade. Let's have a complete housewife, Handmaid's Tale, creepy fucking situation of a woman in a kitchen. That'll win people over. This is how fucking out of touch these people are.
I know. I'm surprised she wasn't wearing an apron and making cookies at the same time with like flour on her face, like chocolate chips for the kids.
Camera pans away. She's barefoot.
Oh my god.
Some of the responses, some tweets. These are from Republicans. These are hilarious. Jesse Kelly, not what I prefer out of the GOP response, but there's no question Katie Britt has mastered the ultimate weapon of dimes everywhere, the fake cry. Jack Posobiec, did Kate Britt even mention Trump once? He's such a oh god, he's so weird. Andrew Torba, Katie Britt should have been tucking her for this guy, she wasn't in the kitchen enough. Katie Britt should have been tucking her kids into bed, not giving a melodramatic political speech. The GOP is desperately trying to pander to women voters with other women. Anyone who understands women knows that this will never work. Women hate other women. What women want and are attracted to is a strong, masculine, authoritative man. Is there any one of these in the GOP? George, I never want to see Katie Britt anywhere near Mike again. Republicans got the opportunity to dunk on this horrible speech and capitalize on a disgruntled country, and the response made people sympathize with Biden. Could have had Josh Hawley, Tylerville, Vance. Anyone could have done a better job. And then
I don't know about Tuberville. I think that would have been a straight up coin flip for which one would have been more pathetic. But
somebody said, some unnamed source was on the Blaze, said some Republican was like, what the fuck was that? That was an absolute disaster. Some of my favorite responses from Democrats. Tom Arnold said, Katie Britt is so bad she couldn't be in one of my movies. Heather Thomas said Katie Britt definitely fakes orgasms. Maddow talked about how she was one of the architects of the border bill and then voted against it.
Of course.
And then, Matthew Sheffield, Katie Britt's kitchen location, speech, and wardrobe were a great promo for the next season of The Handmaid's Tale. Nice job, Republicans. The crucifix necklace was a great addition. Sarah Longwell said, for months I've been saying Katie Britt is at the top of Trump's VP shortlist, but I'm going to stop saying that now. Actually, I think she still is. We're getting word that Stefanik may be out because at least Stefanik is not pretty enough to be Trump's VP. That's what the reporting is. He might still be going with Katie Britt because she's prettier than Elise Stefanik.
That would track because he is a gross pig. Oh my
God.
God.
He might still be on the short list.
That would be amazing. So that's going to be Sarah Palin level bad choice. Oh my God, this is going to be so much fun.
And the thing is,
it just went from a nightmare to so fun.
Yeah, that would be Sarah Palin all over again because of people. Trump's old too, by the way. So this is going to be kind of a the match of the VPs for. Mm-hmm. We haven't really gotten into it yet, but it is going to be the whose VP is more ready to step in.
Yeah, that VP debate is going to be a serious one this time around.
Yeah. The thing is, like, this is how she is, though. Like, this is how she talks. If you They were playing some of her old speeches when she was running for office. This is how she is. She's just a melodramatic person. She's terrible. It's not like she hyped it up for the speech or whatever. This is how she talks.
No, it's the evangelical whisper. It is a thing. It is like, remember Mike Johnson's wife when she gave her interview? She sounded exactly the same. Michelle Duggar, like they all sound like that. It's like they learn it in evangelical wife camp or some shit. I don't know, but it's gross. And some of us recognize that voice.
All too well. Jesus.
Did not like it. Yeah.
This was the woman that so Alabama Senate. She was Trump's pick for Senate. Trump had endorsed Mo Brooks, but Mo Brooks, who was like ultra MAGA, made the cardinal mistake of saying that Republicans should probably just start moving on from 2020 and the election denialism. That was enough for Trump to withdraw his endorsement and endorse this woman for Senate. So yeah. And she might be his vice president candidate because she's
horrifying.
A pretty little housewife in the kitchen.
Horrifying.
God damn it, out of touch. Troy's lie of the week is actually Katie Britt. Let's play a little.
Sack of crap.
There's another.
You're a lying sack of crap. You're a lying, scheming, stinking, nasty sack of liquid crap. You're a lying sack of crap. You're a lying sack of crap. You're a lying, scheming, stinking, nasty sack of liquid crap.
So the lie of the week is Katie.
You have a lot of these songs, don't you?
Katie Britt. And another part of that speech, she talks about the border and the migrant situation, the wide open borders. You can slide into.
Oh my God! See, I didn't go that far.
They're going to penetrate our borders.
Oh my God! Stop it! You're so gross.
She starts talking about this conversation she had with a migrant woman who, one of the more like horror. She got into like horrific details about this woman's rape, unnecessarily on national TV. 10:30 at night. But basically talking about a migrant woman who was raped and trying to pin it on Biden's border policies. Yada 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 yada. We had an independent journalist report. This came out on TikTok. This is Jonathan Katz. He's a journalist. This was from his TikTok page. I'll play a little bit of what he said about it, what he uncovered. And I guess it wasn't hard to uncover. She's just a liar. But this woman that she was talking about was not the crime that she was talking about was from 2007, and it wasn't even in the United States. It was in Mexico. Here's what
took office. I took a different approach. I traveled to the Del Rio sector of Texas. That's where I spoke to a woman who shared her story with me. She had been sex trafficked by the cartels starting at the age of 12.
All I had to do was click on Carla Jacinto Romero's name.
So previous to this, he talks about doing a little investigating. It turns out Katie Britt and Marsha Blackburn and some other Republican women went to Del Rio, Texas, and met. They had like a conference in Del Rio, Texas, and they met with some migrants. This woman, Carla Jacinto Romero, was one of their guests at this conference. This woman, this is the woman that Katie Britt was talking about. But this woman, he's talking about the research that he did into this woman's background. The crime she's talking about occurred in like 2008, before Biden was even the vice president. Biden was not the president at this time.
And that hyperlink on Senator Blackburn's page, and it took me to this. This is Carla Jacinto Romero's testimony to Congress from 2015 about her experiences in Mexico. If you scroll down, you see it took place between 2004 and 2008. Now, I don't know what they put in the textbooks in Alabama these days, but Joe Biden wasn't the president of the United States in 2004 or 2008. He wasn't even the vice president of the United States. That wouldn't happen until 2009. In 2004 and 2008, the president of the United States was George W. Bush. Vice president was Dick Cheney. And none of that really matters here because these events didn't happen in the United States. These crimes didn't take place in the United States or even near the border. They took place in Mexico, in Guadalajara, in Mexico City, and other parts of Mexico. But this didn't happen when Joe Biden was president. It happened 20 years ago when George W. Bush, a Republican, was president. And Jacinto Romero didn't share her story with Senator Britt. Britt tells it like she's like sitting by the banks of the Rio Grande, like holding her hand, like getting her to tell her the story that she won't tell anyone else. I mean, that's sort of the affect that you get watching that video, right? This is a professional activist. I mean, I'm sure she went through the things that she went through. I'm not discounting that at all. And she's clearly a very brave person who has overcome a lot in her life. But she tells this story in public. This is her testifying in front of Congress in 2015, 9 years ago, almost a decade ago. This is what she does. She goes.
So this woman, Carla Jacinta Romero, is a frequent spokesperson for migrant women and Mexican women and the plight of Mexican women, basically. But she's been telling the story about being raped in Mexico for years now. This was the story that Katie Britt highlighted in her State of the Union response, as if it was as if she had just taught, as if this woman was a migrant in the United States who'd been raped, but in the United States or even like on the border of the United States. Under Joe Biden's presidency. This happened in 2008 in Mexico. So just a blatant lie there by Katie Britt.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like it's either that she doesn't expect people to fact check her because she's so used to Republican voters that just believe anything they're told and just like, oh yeah. Or she wasn't aware that it didn't happen. Like when she was talking.
That's also a possibility.
Like,
yeah.
Like, oh, I had no idea. This is so terrible. Because she wouldn't have listened to that woman's entire story. She would have waited to respond to that woman's story, and listening and waiting to respond are very different things, which means she heard the parts she needed to hear to repeat what she wanted to repeat. And she didn't really care if it was right or not because she didn't expect anyone to care enough to check.
Right. Yeah. She didn't. She figured it was, when and where it happened, the crime
irrelevant
was apparently not relevant to the point that she was making. But yeah, she met this woman at a conference in 2023, heard her story to the conference about a crime that happened in 2008, and decided to include that in her speech as if it was Joe Biden's fault somehow. So
you're a lying sack of crap. You're a lying sack of crap. You're a lying, scheming, stinking, nasty sack of liquid crap.
Yep. Joy's lie.
Who writes these songs for you? I want to know.
Joy's lie of the week is Katie Britt for trying
where are they coming from?
Trying to make up stories. But he goes on to make the point that like they do this all the time. It doesn't matter if they're fact checked because nobody comes back for the fact check. Mm-hmm. At least nobody on that side comes back for the fact check. All they want is the headline, the initial story. And now they've got that sitting in the back of their head that like this is going on the border in the United States under Joe Biden's watch. They don't come back for the fact check. They don't come back to hear that story was bullshit. That it was the timing of it was not anywhere related to Joe Biden's presidency. So it's effective. That's what they do. They do it all the time. They do it about the election. They do it about about crime, even though crime's way down.
It's annoying how effective it is for them. So,
yeah.
So,
pretty bad. Super Tuesday. So we got some Super Tuesday stuff. That was the other big thing last week, Tuesday elections. We were talking about it a little bit on the show last time. So we're down to a two-way race. Finally, Kathy, Nikki Haley has dropped out.
Yep.
Hasn't endorsed Trump yet or anybody. Kind of waiting on what she's going to do. Biden immediately sent out a statement welcoming Haley's voters into his coalition, saying like we need people like Haley we need her involved. We need her voters involved. We need their input. Highly, we value what they have to say. Just really, really smart. Like instantly coming out with that statement. Trump didn't say anything. In fact, he's been still insulting her. And Bannon called her stupid and that they didn't need her voters and all that. So
that is par for the course for them. That is their go-to move. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think her dropping out of the race, because I was trying to make the point that her performance on Super Tuesday is bad news for Donald Trump. And everybody I've said that to has been like, oh, but she dropped out. What do you know? I'm like, because what her voters are telling us is that they're not going to vote for Donald Trump. These are people who, despite knowing Donald Trump has this locked up, despite knowing this woman has no chance of winning, the fact that they can vote for anybody other than him, they took the chance to. And a lot of the exit polls of people coming out, specifically the Haley voters, I think it was like somewhere between 20 and 30% of Nikki Haley's voters, not Republicans in general, Nikki Haley's voters specifically, said that they would never vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So that, and what you have to remember is that his thresholds to win those swing states he won were very low. They were very low thresholds. So it wouldn't take a lot. And the real question is I think somebody did the math, and it's 1 in 4 Republicans right now don't want to vote for Donald Trump. And he can't afford to lose 1 in 8, let alone 1 in 4.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
totally.
that is my takeaway from Super Tuesday, is that Donnie is in a lot more trouble than anybody is talking about. And I hope they talk about it soon, because it needs to be talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a lot more. There's a lot more never Trumpers than never Biden. You know, Biden's got his uncommitted voters, which, by the way, Biden also is now calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, and actually said in an interview that he understands why people are uncommitted. So he's actually making moves on that Gaza stuff now too.
Yeah.
But Dean Phillips also drops out, endorses Biden. Dean Phillips didn't win a single delegate after making the argument that he was challenging Biden's electability.
Like, this is going to sound so bad, but like the second I saw what Dean Phillips looked like, I knew he'd never be president. Because, like, I'm sorry, in the age of television, you're not electing an unattractive president. That's I mean, I know that sounds really superficial and terrible, but we learned that with Nixon and Kennedy, right? Kennedy was handsome and won the TV debate. Nixon was sweaty and lost the TV debate, but people listening on the radio thought Kennedy sounded stupid and Nixon sounded smart. In the age of TV, being pretty is half the battle.
Have we had an ugly president since Nixon? I mean, Donald Trump is not. I don't think Donald Trump is an attractive guy. But
I don't either, but people, like, you've heard what women say about him for some reason. Who knows? But gross.
That's just.
But,
I don't know. I think women are just attracted to the women that are attracted to Trump. It's something else entirely. It's not actually his looks.
Right, but believe it or not, the attractive president thing impacts male voters more than female voters.
Interesting. I believe that. Yeah.
And it's because men only respect men that they see as better than them. And most men don't. And you know, men are gross, right? And most men can acknowledge when a man is more attractive. Like, they won't out loud admit it, but like inside, you know, right? Like, he's a good looking man. I'm intimidated by him. And that's what it is.
But the men that like that, the men that are like that also have like, well, first of all, they're all closeted gay men, but they also have these like, it's all these like gym rat type people that they look up to. Like, if you're not ripped,
yeah, that's probably true too. Which is why so many people like RFK, sadly, because, and I don't mean so many.
That's why it was no accident that he's like taking off his shirt and stuff and doing all that stuff. You're 100% right. It's like, what, you know, that's actually those type of people that matters to those type of people.
Yep,
How
and
jacked
that
he is.
The weird thing, though. I did have a woman in North Carolina back in 2004 tell me she was voting for George W. Bush because he was handsome. But to be fair, he was running against John Kerry, and same point applies. The two of them next to each other.
Yeah, John Kerry was ugly. Yeah, although not as bad looking in person. I saw John Kerry in person.
I was going to say I wouldn't go so. Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't go so far as to say he's ugly, but objectively speaking, one of those is more appealing to look at than the other.
Yeah. Haley won Vermont, so the only two primaries she won were Washington, D.C. and Vermont. Trump carried the rest of them. Mathematical certainty now that Trump and Biden will be the nominees for president. So we have our two-way race finally. I think Marianne Williamson is still in the race, even though she dropped out. She came back. But
she dropped out and rejoined, and now she's irrelevant again. So that's cute.
We don't know. I don't know what Haley's going to do. Do you have predictions on that? We all want Haley to endorse Biden or just, you know, not endorse Trump. I don't know. I don't have a ton of faith in Nikki Haley.
I don't think she'll endorse Biden. Christie, I think, still could, but Haley would not. Do I think she'll endorse Donald Trump? I doubt it.
She probably would have done it already. I don't know.
Maybe I would see her just not making an endorsement over endorsing either of them, because she's going to look pretty fucking stupid after everything she said about neither one of them are capable of doing this job, but I'm going to endorse this one of them. Like,
well, Biden made it okay for her to endorse him. Trump, you know, Trump did not say anything about, you know, not say anything like that. So.
Yeah, but Nikki Haley, I think, is also counting on Republican establishment coming back to her if he's convicted of something. So,
Yeah, I think that was her calculation.
Mm-hmm.
That he would, she would be the nominee when he's in jail
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
So I can't.
Um,
I don't see how she can endorse him and then say it's deserving to remove him from the ticket for her because of his criminal. So I don't think she'll endorse
I think
anyone.
that they would nominate DeSantis or Tim Scott or something. I don't. This party is so far gone. I don't. She's almost like laying the groundwork for a third party here, because she's
Mm,
basically was able to coalesce the Never Trumpers.
yeah.
That chunk of people that
Yeah.
you're talking about that
Mm-hmm.
will never vote for Trump.
Yeah.
I don't know there.
Probably. Yeah, it's too late to save the Republican Party, so it's going to have to be a third party because there's no salvaging the reputation of the Republican Party after this. I don't think they come back from this one.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see.
So
We'll see where she goes from here. Her career might be a little bit derailed until
yeah.
next time.
Oh darn.
Yeah, let's be clear. Like, she's not exactly the best. She's not exactly a hero. Okay,
Yeah.
she has terrible policies. She's not a good person. She's just happens to not be Trump. The other one was the California primary, and we talked about that a little bit last time. But so top two primary in California is, regardless of party. I guess they call it the jungle primary, which sounds stupid to me. I don't know. It's just called the top two primary. But so regardless of party, everybody runs. The top two vote getters in the primary move on to the general election in November. So it'll be Adam Schiff. He got the most. He won. He got the most votes by far. Coming in second was Steve Garvey, the Republican. So it'll be Schiff and Garvey in November. Good old fashioned Democrat versus Republican matchup in California for the Senate seat, last held by Dianne Feinstein. Something new in the modern era. It's been sort of Democrat versus Democrat for the last few years, like for governor and stuff. But so you had three Democrats in the race. You had Adam Schiff, you had Katie Porter, and Barbara Lee. So you're splitting the Democrat vote three ways. With that kind of race. Steve Garvey was basically the only Republican. I think there was like one other Republican, but no, he didn't do anything. So Steve Garvey got all of the Republican vote. We're splitting the Democrat vote three ways. So it really kind of crippled Katie Porter and Barbara Lee, who came in third and fourth. Poor Katie Porter or Barbara Lee. They now have to leave. They now have to leave the House. They have to leave their House seats because they ran for Senate. So basically just kind of tanked their career. I guess they could always run for office again, but Adam Schiff, paying for ads for the Steve Garvey guy because he knew that it would be easier to beat a Republican than to beat a Democrat. I mean, the numbers that he got on Super Tuesday, he definitely was the favorite. I don't know that Porter would have beaten him in a general. But poor fucking Katie Porter, dude. I got kind of pissed off about this. I don't know if you know Katie Porter. Katie Porter is a single mom of like 5 kids. She was an abused woman. Before she ran for office, she had like a really sort of she was an abused woman. She had an abusive husband, stay-at-home mom. She's one of these like battered women success stories. Kind of recovered her life, ran for Congress in Orange County, Democrat winning in a Republican district in Orange County. But to have Schiff, a man, sort of snake her like this, it feels really dirty to me. It feels, I don't know. It leaves a really bad taste in my mouth that he did that.
I didn't. This is something Cannon didn't know. I'm admitting it. Is that just a California law, or is that like a federal law that she can't run?
It's a California.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That sucks, man.
Yeah. So she's gone. And
no, she's not, because Biden will put her in somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
Biden
she'll be okay.
Yeah.
But she's famous for her little like whiteboard rants. Great progressive. Again, in a competitive, traditionally conservative district in Orange County.
Yeah.
So,
and she can always run like next election cycle, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm sure she'll run again at some point. She's not like out forever. But she does have to abandon her seat.
Man, that sucks. Florida has that rule, resign to run, kind of.
Yeah, same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
She had to resign to run for Senate. I'll vote for Schiff. I think Schiff's cool. Obviously Schiff's going to win. There's no way that Steve Garvey's going to beat Schiff in California.
Yeah, but that's why he did it. It's because he knew as long as he won this, he won. And remember, I mentioned that last week, and you're like, "Oh, I hadn't heard about that." I knew
I
I'd read something about
hadn't
it.
heard about that at the time that
Yeah.
we had
Well,
recorded.
I had only heard about it like a little bit that morning, like not even a whole
Yeah.
lot, and I figured you would know. And when you hadn't heard about it, I'm like, well, maybe I fever dreamed it, but I guess in the end, it was
I
there.
just didn't know. I didn't know that he had done that. But yeah, it seems
Yeah.
a little snaky. And now it's going to go. Not really into the identity politics or whatever. But California hasn't had a male. We've had 2 women senators for like 30 years now, almost 40 years.
Oh.
So it's been a long time since California has had a male senator. Well, we do have Alex Padilla right now. So now we'll have two. We will have 2 male senators.
Wow.
That's
So you went from no male senators to 2 male senators just like
yeah.
that?
And Alex Padilla was appointed to replace Kamala Harris when she became vice president. So yeah. So we went from 2 women to 2 men, sort of overnight. It
That's
kind of
annoying.
sucks. And then Barbara Lee was the history of Barbara Lee. She's incredibly underrated. She was the only member of the House to vote against the Iraq War resolution back in 2002 or 2003, whenever
Yeah,
that was.
that's where I knew her from, and that's why I liked her.
Yeah.
Mm.
So another career. She's got to dip out of the House for a little bit. I'm sure she'll run again though.
Yeah, hopefully.
She's in a safer seat than Katie Porter. She's in a
Well, when's your gubernatorial election? That's a real good question.
not for a couple more years.
Oh, it's midterms.
Not this year.
Mm.
I think it's 2006. I think it's an off year because he was just Newsom was just elected.
Oh, okay then.
Not too long ago. Yeah. So anyway, pretty crazy stuff. We're just about out of time. Got a lot of other stuff here to cover. We can cover it next week though. So just about out of time. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Join us on Patreon. Subscribe to Patreon. We're going to go over and do the deep dive now on best presidents. Last time we talked about worst presidents, how much we hate Thomas Jefferson. So you can subscribe, get access to that deep dive content. We're going to leave the non-subscribers here. We love you guys. Check us out on YouTube, on the Just Buy Less Coffee YouTube channel to catch the video content. If you're listening to the audio only versions of the show, wherever you get your podcast, make sure you're downloading the episode to your device. Downloads are free, and they're how we're ranked with other news and political podcasts. So thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you, Kathy, for a great conversation. And we will see everybody next time. You've been listening to Just Buy Less Coffee, answering the deeper questions of American politics, featuring Troy Matthews at Keep Troy Blue and Kathy Cannon at Cannon's Fodder. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and X. All opinions are our own.